Today I'm going to give you my biggest concerns with Football Manager 2023. Now, I did a reaction video on the headline features that was released last week, and I was trying to be as positive as I could possibly be. And that's not me faking my reactions. I genuinely enjoy some of the features that have been added to the game. However, from your comments and some of my concerns looking through and thinking about it since, I do want to address the things that I am kind of concerned with. And ideally, Football Manager has released this documentation, which gives us a little bit more of a written thing to look into, unless you obviously suited to watching that 42-minute video, which was my first bit of feedback. That was way too long. I would have suggested doing a 10-minute video as a review to get people who are on the fence of buying the game, or maybe brand new to the game, interested in the new features and what they could potentially do, and then doing the 42-minute video like the day after. I think that would have been the way to go. But hey, they've decided to go with it through that way. Maybe it was a time constraint thing. I'm not quite sure. Now, the first thing we're going to take a look at is the recruitment revamp. Now, going through this, I've made some notes. One thing I picked up straight away was the fact that they have the Manchester City logo and obviously the license to use the Manchester City logo in the game. And now, obviously, with the UEFA license stuff, does that mean we get all of the UEFA tournaments, all the clubs that are involved in that? Do we get all of those licenses? Because there's another certain Manchester club who they don't like their logos and stuff being used, not even their name being used in the game. So will we get that? And my biggest concern with that is, does that mean when we go to playing in the Premier League, for instance, it won't have all of the licensed teams, we'll just have about 6 of them? Is that going to make it look a little bit ugly? Now, actually looking at the feature itself, I do think it's a welcome upgrade, the squad planner, and the fact that you can have a look through the next season, the season after is good, but to the untrained eye, you might look a little bit deeper and you see the columns that they have here are not really the columns that I would suggest would be good for that. Rollability, okay, fair enough. Do you really need the transfer value and wage in there? I would much prefer certain other things like current ability, potential ability, especially if you're looking at next season and season after. And I know you can probably right-click it and add those columns in and take away the ones that you don't watch and have like your own custom view of this squad planner page. That's fine, I get that. But for a lot of people who don't know that you can have the ability to do that, they will just use this page, or even too lazy to use it, and will never feel the real benefits of having those columns there. I would have preferred if they specified the best columns for it. It's just a little nitpick for me. The other bits in the squad planner, like this thing here, the experience matrix, that to me is going to be like the dynamics page, but with less things to really take note on. It just seems like it's more of an aesthetic thing to look at. It doesn't really come across as something that you can do anything with or change. It's more of just to look at, and you probably won't start looking at it in like 6 or, well, even less than that. Maybe 3 months' time, you probably won't ever even click on the experience matrix unless you're really into that type of thing. I don't think I will be. That might be something that I think they could have spent more time adding to something else, improving something else, or fixing something that was broken in the last game instead of adding this into it. Right, let's take a look at the scouting enhancement then. Now, the fact that they are putting more of an eye on to the recruitment focus and the scouting enhancement that they have here, I think is a great addition to the game. I just really hope it works, because the game was pretty much broken with scouting last season. If you take a look at things like this on FM23 and you were asking to specify for a certain player that has, you know, a left winger who is only 23 or younger, yeah, you might pick up some of those players, but you will also just get given everybody else. Like, they won't specify and only look for those players. Now, I'm hoping this will make it easier to do in this new game instead of just give you everybody like it did last year, because to me, that just didn't work then. It was like, okay, we'll find you that person, but we'll also give you like 30 other players to look at, and then you have to go and search for and find it. If I want a scout to just look for strikers who have 15 dribbling, finishing, and first touch, for instance, only give me that. As well as, obviously, you got the three near matches. I think that's a good addition to it, but I don't want it to be broken like it was last year. Will it still do that? Will it still show me players that doesn't have anything to do with it? I really hope not. And one of you guys actually left me a comment in the previous one about this one and another feature that they've added, that it kind of just looks like they've just renamed and redesigned a previous feature. It doesn't look like they've added anything. I really hope that's not the case. I don't think they would have done that, especially for this one. It does look like there has been some changes going into it. But like I say, you did have the ability to scout for specific things in previous games. It just didn't work. So I'm really hoping it's not just a rename and give it a bit of a lick of paint, but not actually change the substance of the feature itself. And that goes to a few of these new additions. Some of them do look like they've just renamed something and made it look different without telling us this is what we've actually changed. And it might be because obviously that's too boring to tell us what's changed, but there is some things that they definitely need to tell us that they changed. For instance, the loan market in Football Manager 2022 for me was terrible. That's why I never use loans, because as soon as you go to loan a player who is in a top division club, they will try and break your bank. And that's not realistic to me. If Manchester United or Man City have a fringe player that they just want to give game time to, they shouldn't be trying to charge me 500k a month plus wages to use them. Like, that's not realistic to me, because they want the guy to have game time. So if I'm in a different league, they want that player to be loaned out, but they make it almost impossible to do so. So I really hope that the loan market has definitely been fixed, and for God's sake, the selling players as well. If it's this better buying players in this new transfer market, please make it better to sell players, because that's one of my biggest concerns with Football Manager 23 is there's no real mention on that. It's almost like if you don't use a player in FM22 and it got to the end of the season, one, their value plummets, which I sometimes find a little bit unrealistic, but two, nobody wants him. If I'm a lower league club and I'm looking going, no, that player's not being used, he would be good for me, that would make him more desirable. I'd go for that guy rather than the guy who's a first teamer at a different club. Things like that either hasn't been thought about or just hasn't been mentioned. And I hope it's the latter. The last thing on the recruitment side of things is that I want to touch on is the scouting assignments, because we can see this map, which obviously looks quite familiar to the scouting knowledge that we had in previous games. And we all know that was kind of broken. Like, Zealand made a big video about it, I think, with the scouting knowledge and everything to do with scouts on there. He did extensive work, and fair play to him. I really hope that's been changed. Maybe, like, improved and actually fixed, because from what I can see and reading through this, it doesn't look like it has. It doesn't really say much about the scouting, stuff like that, the scouting knowledge or anything, because, I mean, one was like, if you were to go to a country and then move to another club, you would lose the knowledge of that country within a season. And I think that's kind of unrealistic. You'd still know majority of the players. But yeah, I just hope that's different. I do like the fact that now you can see things like this. Transfer windows open with 18 days, like, and everything like this. The actual design of it looks great. It's the substance that I want changing. Right, let's have a look at match AI and animation, because I do have some concerns with this as well. So Nick mentioned about the AI manager improvements, so they will now try and chase games if you go behind, which I think is fantastic, because that is, again, realistic, and it adds to the match experience, and again, it makes it feel like you're playing against another person there, which is great. So you can see here the AI managers will now be more open to chasing leads and will react more realistically when they're playing against an informed team. Good. I don't want it to be overpowered, though, to the point where it just feels like every single game where you're 1-0 up, you're going to concede a goal and just be FM'd. There needs to be a way to, like, counteract what they do. For instance, they have mentioned in other facets of the tactical analysis and the match engine how you can change things. They need to actually work, then, for this part to work just as well, if that makes sense. But knowing, like, what Nick has been like and how excited he is for the match engine, how much the match engine improved in last year's game compared to previous years, I think they will be okay with this. This is one of my least concerns, really. I think the team did a fantastic job with the FM22 match engine. We didn't really have a lot of problems. There's a few people who said about keepers and stuff like that, and obviously the defending for, like, strikerless and attackerless tactics, they seem to die out slightly after the winter updates, whatever they they did there. But we didn't necessarily have any major issues with the match engine like we've had previously with like one-on-ones and stuff just being completely broken. They do mention things like the player decisions. For instance, the goalkeeper now makes K-block saves, which is good for like one-on-ones. Now in one-on-one situations, goalkeepers can use their frames more effectively. Let's hope it's not to the point of FM21 where one-on-ones was almost impossible to score. Let's hope it hasn't gone back to that. We just want to see like when they do go one-on-one, oh, you can make a good save and the animation looks different. So that's kind of my only real concerns there. Again, though, looking at this, you say that there's no animations and everything, which is great. I will allude to my concerns on the graphics again. Now, a lot of you guys who put in the comment section that you're not worried about the graphics, you're all the people like me. You are the ones that have been saying you've been playing this game for years and years. I'm not mentioning you guys on who I'm concerned with. We're fine. We love this game no matter what. I will play this if it's just 2D. I did up until like last year. I never really used the 3D match engine until FN21, and that was only because of content, to be honest. A lot of you guys will say, well, the graphics to me don't matter. I've been playing this game since 1992. Exactly. You're used to the graphics of 1992. My biggest concern is the youngsters. I don't see enough people in the comments going, I'm only 16 and I'm playing this game. No, I can see on my analytics that I don't really have anybody under the age of 25. My biggest demographic is 25 and over. There's nobody new who wants to play this game if they don't want to play FIFA anymore. Maybe they're getting to the point and they go, oh mate, what's that Football Manager game like? Oh, it looks terrible. It looks terrible, but it's a great game. They got to give it an option, but that's the trouble. They are used to playing FIFA graphics. They're used to playing Call of Duty graphics. It just does concern me that the next generation will not give this game a chance because the 3D graphics doesn't look up to scratch. We are in 2022 now. There are mobile games with fantastic graphics. I understand why they do it. They'd have to pump in a lot of money to begin with to make sure it works with the match engine, and then of course they would have to make sure that your computer can actually play that game. But why not have an option for both? Why not have a really low resolution like this type of graphics for the people who want to have older laptops and computers, and for the people who want to have a very enhanced version of a graphical game, have that option, because eventually you might start losing your audience because they get too old and too many responsibilities to play the game around about my age, and then you're not introducing new players through who are too young to understand graphics like this. That's just my concern. Now, the tactical changes that we've seen, I think, is a welcome addition, don't get me wrong, but I do have a couple of concerns with it. My biggest concern, again, is that it's just a change of language and not a change of the actual way that your team will react to those instructions. Yes, there is more instructions, but the way that they've described it is that it's called a mid block and a low block and not a high line of engagement. And I understand where they're coming from, because it is something in football. They just need to change the name of it. But I really hope that doesn't mean for all of it, because pressing traps on the inside is basically them saying you are wider. Remember when it was like defensive width last season? You'd see it underneath here. It was defensive width, so you would be a bit more compact and send them out wide, or you'd be a little bit more open and allow them to come on the inside. I really hope that's not pressing traps, trap inside and trap outside, because to me that's two different things. So I don't know. Some of these things I'm a little bit cautious onto whether I believe that it will make a difference, or it's just a previous feature that is renamed. And also, will it make a big difference? Like a lot of people are asking for low blocks because so many tactics are based around low blocks in real life, but it's very hard to replicate in the game. Are we going to get to this point next year and go, come on, can we please get low blocks to work? Or is this going to be like, are we going to see, what I want to see is RDF post his first video and it be like, oh, I managed to get a low block to work. Like, that'd be the dream for me, because I know he will try it. He's a bloody genius when it comes to tactics. If he can't get it to work, then nobody will. That's what I want to see. I want to see RDF say that and confirm to me, Luke, I can confirm a low block works. Now, only a quick one with the UEFA Club Competition license, because it's overall really positive, to be honest. Like, I think this is just going to be a great addition, especially for me because I like to play in the top leagues more than anything. So I'm going to be using a lot of these graphics more than most people, I would guess. But the fact that they've managed to do it is fantastic. More of it, please. Like the more licensing agreements, the better. So I don't have to download all the face packs and everything like that. But that's fine. I do have one little concern though, and is that what I said earlier, is the rest of the leagues going to look ugly for the sacrifice of having this match day experience with UEFA. So are we going to go into, for instance, the Premier League and be like, right, okay, so we've got the licensing for Man City, Chelsea and everything. So you got their logos, everything like that, their faces are in the game, but the rest of the league isn't. Like Nottingham Forest is an AI badge. You know, what's going to be happening there? That's my only concern really, but it's very little because I'll just download a logo pack anyway to make it look as neat as what I'd want it to look. Now, the supporter confidence. This one's quite interesting because there was a tweet, and I'm going to show you the tweet. And this is my biggest concern with this, because overall it looks great. And I was actually really excited when I seen this because of this section here, the supporter profile, your hardcore audience, 12%, your core audience. A lot of people was like, please let that be a stadium creator. It's not LMA manager. So no, but that's something that we might talk about on Friday's video, by the way. But, you know, people were talking about whether this is dynamic. That's what I was hoping. Is this thing dynamic? Will this change as you go through the leagues, through your career at a club? Somebody asked this. Andrew Gibb, fantastic guy, worked with him in the past and videos on his channel. Check out his channel. He asked one of the FM guys, I think it was a French guy, asked him, is the supporter confidence feature, which looks amazing by the way, is it going to be dynamic so it will adapt and develop with the club over time, like doing bottom to top save, the percentages changing as the club grows? Exactly what I was also thinking, Mr. Gibb. And Remy's reply did have me a little worried. Hi Andrew, for now only a small portion of the supporter profile will be dynamic, as it would have heavily complexified the feature and balancing work. Definitely on our list for the future though. But what part is dynamic? What part is dynamic? So my two worries here. One is he didn't say what part was dynamic, whether that's because he's not allowed to yet, whether we'll never know what's dynamic. But we had problems obviously with dynamic youth rating last year, another thing that Zealand looked into, and they try and patched it out in the winter update, I believe, and it did kind of work a little bit better from that. However, my concern is what part is that, because they're not telling us, which means the big part for me would be this is the part that I want to be dynamic, and I don't think it will be. But two, I don't know why they would release a feature if only parts of it is dynamic and then the rest isn't, because would that mean then that, because they say it would complexify the game, but then putting only half of a feature in worries me why it's called a headline feature. All the things that everybody else is asking on top of the stuff that they've shown us already, how little is that going to be if this is classed as a headline feature? That's one of my concerns. But I actually love the feature. Don't get me wrong, I love the feature. I love this. I love things like this. I love the fact that you can go on the supporters and the supporters will give you feedback as well. But yeah, that was a bit of a concern for me when I seen that tweet from Remy there, as to what is changing. Now, the last couple of things on here, I don't really need to talk about, I don't think, because to celebrate your success, that's not really a feature for me. I think that's just, be something that people will look at and reminisce. It's not really a headline feature. So that's kind of all the things that I want to cover today, but I want to know what your suggestions would be, unrealistic and realistic additions to Football Manager, not just FM23, but beyond, as well as graphics, things like that. I've mentioned things in the past that I would love to see in the game. I want to know your things as well. Stadium builders, things like that. What would you like to see in the game? And maybe I'll do a video on Friday, so check your subscriptions out for that one. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.